Hey, this is Dave from growandeatit.com, and today we're going to talk about worms. Let's see if we can see some little friends down here. Ah, there they are. Our beautiful wormy friends. These are our red wigglers. They're known to be the best kind of composting worm, which is what I'm doing. You want to add some vitality to your vegetable garden or flowers or anything really. These guys love to eat and digest rotten food, and their poop is fantastic as a fertilizer. When feeding the worms, you want to bury things so you don't get a bunch of bugs on the top side. So I just kind of scoop out a space, and yep, I run a restaurant, so I have to pardon the air conditioner, but we have some mushrooms that are like last week's mushrooms. So they're toast, and the worms really love them. I sort of wish that my dreams would come true and we'd start sprouting these mushrooms that I use all the time, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Anyway, once you do go ahead and kind of bury them, you just cover them up. The worms will find their way to the food. Actually, most of this top part is worm castings here, so see, it doesn't really stick to your hands too bad, and it's very rich. It's moist, but it's not like dripping wet. Like literally, you can squeeze it and nothing will come out. It almost clumps together, but then just falls right back apart, which is exactly what you want. And then this cardboard's about toast, but I like to cover them up with a little bit of cardboard. This at one time was very solid. And then I have these coffee bags. Here, we'll throw that in there. I have these coffee bags that come from my roaster. We have gourmet coffee here, and the roaster is really awesome. They sometimes pack my coffee shipments with coffee bags as like the filling material. I mean, they're gonna throw them away. They make awesome coverings for worm bins. So you can see I have some slightly newer cardboard over here, and there underneath there is some old stale bread. Just remember that you only want to have things that are organic in that worm bed. And you know, you hear my air conditioner, big giant unit. See this nice condensation that's dripping down? Well, so I put a 5-gallon bucket underneath that, and you know, it's not mineral rich or anything like that. In fact, it's not at all. It's but it's distilled water. So it's great if the worm bed was a little on the dry side. I would do things a little bit differently and dip in there and use my watering can to just moisten the surface. The base of that is there are some leaves in the bottom of it, like dry leaves, and then I've got a nice layer of peat going on there. So anyway, that's how I do the worm bin. It's not complicated at all. I do have like a drain at the bottom of it. It's an old freezer. It's a little chest freezer. Actually, I'll walk back over there and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is an old school Hot Point chest freezer. It actually got hit by a tree, a very large falling tree limb, and it really dented in the side. So being the way that I am, I didn't want it to just get trashed, so I got in there and jumped in it and pounded it out, and it worked. So you can do a lot with old freezers and such, but chest freezer works really well because it sits on the ground flat. And there is a piece of PVC that actually just fits down in there. It's not glued in or anything. It's just sitting down in there as a kind of a ventilation shaft, if you will. And then, pardon my weeds, but the drain, the natural drain of the freezer is right there, and I took the plug out so that it could drain, but this is sitting down in the top of the place where the plug was, and so water can still get out if it gets too wet in there, because sometimes, you know, you get a little overzealous and water it down. But the that breather pipe basically is my insurance that if for some reason the top gets totally sealed, which I can't really do because of my situation there with the dent in the side, so you can't really close the lid all the way. And the seal was broken on this in the first place. That's why I was given this freezer. But hey, it was going to the trash, and my friend had it, and Dan put it out there, and I said, I'd like that freezer, and it doesn't have to work. I'd like to turn it into a worm bin, and he dropped it off. And then I got some worms from a local a local lady who has a business called Liberty Worms, and got my worms from there. I got my Pete next door at the hardware store that's my neighbor here, and, you know, put it all together, and there it is. Coffee bags from the roaster, so on and so forth. Now, I do put a half of a cinder block on top of it because I don't want any animals getting into it. And we do have raccoons and things like that, and I don't know if they would go for worms or not, but let's not find out. Better safe than sorry, right? So that's worms in a nutshell. Pretty easy, huh? You can learn lots about worms from other people besides me, of course. But I'm doing it, and I've been pretty successful. They seem happy. They're in the shade right now, as you could see, and it's 90. I had a spider climb on my hand there. That was a little bit of a surprise. But it was 90 something degrees out here the last several days. So let's you know, keep your worms happy by keeping them in the shade if you can. And if you can't, then you probably need to put some things like frozen water bottles and stuff like that to keep that temperature low. The insulation on the freezer actually helps quite a lot. All right, well, I don't suggest you grow and eat worms, but they will certainly help you with some worm castings so you can grow and eat vegetables. Until next time, I'm Dave Palmer. Like and share this video, subscribe if you will, and grow and eat it.